All right. Here we are. Tap into tap into real estate with Tapan Trivedi.
Tap into real estate with Tapan Trivedi.
So, what's going on today, brother?
Hey man, I am so excited today because I'm going to talk about something that is really near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about something called wholesaling.
Okay.
Do you know what it is?
That is when you purchase a property on the not on the retail side, but that needs repairs, it needs rehabs, and so forth, and then you turn around and you sell that property to somebody else who's going to turn around and actually do the job, do the rehabs and the repairs.
Absolutely. So, wholesaling, it is very basic concept, involves making money in real estate without spending any of your own money. So, let's say if you're trying to flip a house, you're buying something at $100,000, you're going to put $50,000 into fixing it, and then you sell it for, let's say, $250,000, and you make $100,000 gross profit, right? In wholesaling, what you do is you still get the house that has the after repair value of $250K under contract for $100K, because that's in real estate, you make money when you buy, and then you do everything in your power not to lose it by the time you sell it, right? So, in wholesaling, once you have the house under contract for that $100,000, you go ahead and wholesale, assign, or sell that contract to somebody else for, let's say, $10,000 more or $7,000 more. You make a lot less, but you also do a lot less. See, an average flip nowadays takes about 4 to 5 to 6 months.
Oh, really? Okay.
So before you make a dime, you are basically
you're pouring money into this.
Pouring money into it, and it's a risk. You know, if you do know what you're doing, there's a lot of money to be made in flipping. But in wholesaling, your risk is limited to what your contract EMD is. EMD stands for earnest money deposits. That's the money that you put down at the escrow company to make sure that it is.
So we find an investor that wants to buy the house. So for instance, we find the house is worth $250,000. We're able to get it in not great shape. It needs a lot of work. We get it for $100, $125. We're going to find OPM. We're going to use other people's money to get that home, and then we're going to turn around and sell that home.
We are not buying the home at all.
Okay.
So that's why you're not spending any of your money. All you have is the contract that is in escrow. And in the contract is a clause that says that you can assign it to somebody else. Right? And that assignment clause, so now let's say it's Quinn is the wholesaler. So you are my wholesaler, and you went ahead and got the thing under contract. Now you came to me, I'm the flipper, and said, you know what, hey, here you go, here's a contract. Would you like to buy this house for $110,000 that needs $50,000 for the work, but will sell for $250K? I ran my numbers and said, yeah, that's a great deal. I don't have to go ahead and talk to the homeowner. I don't have to go ahead and worry about any competition. Yeah, I'll buy it today. Right?
So where does the money come in order to purchase that house?
The flipper pays that money.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you are just selling the opportunity.
Got it.
Right? So your input in this is you put $100 or $1,000 something down as an earnest money deposit, which is totally refundable, right? And you have the house under contract for a month, and you can go ahead and.
Very, very, very interesting. Now, where does one go about finding wholesale properties?
So there are many, many, many different ways of finding wholesale property, but and it changes with the market, right? At one point, about 4 or 5 years back, foreclosures were a perfect way of finding them. You go to the foreclosures list, you go to the Sacramento County Recorder's Office, or you find any of the online data sources and find out who are in foreclosure. You go ahead and say, I'm going to buy your house. Now, it's one of the two things at that point. You either are buying the house straight from the homeowner, or you are creating a short sale, or however it is, but you're creating that gap in the purchase price versus after repair value, and you purchase the house, you get the house under contract, and you sell the contract. right? So that's foreclosures is one of the options. Second one is at now auctions obviously do not work for this, unless you have the money to buy it and you do that. But or you if somebody trusts you enough to do your due diligence and says, I will give you the money because I love the way you buy houses, and then you can wholesale all day long at the auction block. But nowadays, in when the market is up, these things are not. So what works is probate.
Okay.
Probate deals are evergreen deals. It works. You talk to the probate administrators. You talk to the people that are in some sort of a probate distress. You go ahead and you talk to either the lawyer that's handling the probate or the probate administrator, and you go and talk to them and say, hey, would you like to sell this house? So oftentimes what happens is the heirs are distributed all over the country and they have to go through the whole probate process. But if all the heirs agree, easier said than done. But if all the heirs agree, then you can, with the court's blessings, buy the house. Right? So that's the probate is another deal. Yet another deal is something that we call driving for dollars.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that's where we're looking for grass up to your knees and boards on windows and things, right?
Pretty much. So physical distress is almost always a sign of financial distress. So what happens is when you go ahead and so in good areas or whatever your farm is where you're trying to buy the houses, right?
Okay.
So your farm, you're going to, let's say for instance, my farm for the longest time was Tahoe Park. I love Tahoe Park. I love Talek Village. I bought a lot of houses. I've sold a lot of houses there. And you go ahead and drive at 5-10 miles an hour on the streets. Very important if you're doing this to have some sort of a sign on your car that says, you are in the real estate business or something like that, because otherwise people are going to call on you saying, hey, this guy is casing houses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you drive very slowly and basically
I can
you
only
just,
imagine. The
just
cops
take
pull up behind you. What are you doing out here?
pictures of houses that look as if they would need help, right? And pretty soon you will have a list of 100, 150 houses, and you go ahead and do the research on those ones, right? So you find out who owns it, because you can't just go and knock on the doors, because it's very likely that maybe a tenant lives there, right? So you got to be very careful about that. But once you figure out, you do your research on those 150 houses, and you realize, oh yeah, so now you know that the probability of them needing some sort of help is a lot more. So you basically go ahead and put them on your letter campaign drip, which all investors must do.
I tell people this all the time, and sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, it takes 7 touches before somebody...
7 to 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's like,
no one's just going to do business with you because you called them. It doesn't work like that.
Right. They need to remember your voice. They need to remember your name, especially if you have a weird name like Tapan Trivedi, And I get asked all kinds of weird questions, but every question that sounds insulting will have an opportunity if you can go ahead and take care of that objection.
Well, one of the things about sales is that, people will tell you how to sell them. All you have to do is listen to the words they're saying.
That's it.
You just
Listening
listen
is
to
a very, very big skill.
Yeah, just listen to what they're saying, and they'll tell you how to sell them.
Yeah. And the biggest thing, so I get asked questions like, how do I know that you're not at some call center in India? And that's my golden touch.
Well,
because then I can say, how about I show up at your house at 11:30 today and I'll bring a burrito. And they're like, oh. And so the intention is to go ahead and have that one-on-one
that would
touch.
be a problem.
Right. So, but, but there's a reason why, if you're an immigrant to this country, the chances of you becoming a millionaire is 4 to 5 times more than somebody that's born here. It's simply because you're able to do a lot of things that most people just won't do. So anyway, I digress. Back to driving for dollars. So you drive, you get your mailing list that way, and you put them on a 7-touch drip. And the last one, if they do not call you after 6 letters, then the last thing should be something called a lumpy mail or a 3D mail, wherein you're not just sending your typical envelope or postcard or something. You're sending something that you cannot ignore. So if you get a lot of envelopes or just postcards and stuff, usually envelopes are things that you need to do. Like, oh, is it a bill, things, whatever. I need to do something. But if you get a package in mail, your thoughts on that package almost always are, hey, it's something that I get.
Correct.
Right? So it increases your mailing cost, but man, it converts. It converts like amazing.
And what do you send them? Just like flowers or candy or?
I had something called a message in a bottle.
Okay.
So I had this little bottle, and I had just a little cork, and you can get those things online. Just look for message in a bottle mailing, or just reach out to me, and I'll get back to you. 916-613-1921. Once again, it's 916-613-1921. Reach out to me, and my mailing. So the typical rates of callbacks on a real estate campaign is about 1 to 3%. Right? But once I started sending out those mailing with the message in a bottle, my rates went up to about 28 to 30%.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So that's a significant increase.
Yeah, huge.
Like 7-8 times.
Yeah.
Or even on my best returns, right?
And that's after not being able to get a hold of these people for 7 touches, which is crazy.
Correct.
I mean, these people are like dropped off the planet, and you've converted them.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, don't limit your marketing to something that's what I call shotgun. Right?
It's funny because I'm taking this idea, by the way.
No, totally. I mean, that's
I'm
what's
so
for.
taking this. I think it's brilliant.
Like one of my biggest successes is there's a commercial building on Capitol Mall, which we are on right now, and I would not tell you their address and stuff, but that building was an absolute slam dunk deal. They had like about 1.3 million in equity, and it had been in foreclosure. It's a commercial building.
Yeah.
It was in foreclosure for
that the one that sold 130 million or something like that?
No, not that one.
Oh, no, okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm not at that level yet. I'm mostly 8, 9, 10 million major syndications and stuff, and I'll talk about that later in a series. But that building, everybody and their father was trying to get to that building, the homeowner. And the guy just wouldn't return calls because there's something happens that, when you are in foreclosure or in such a situation, basically you're not replying to anyone's phone calls.
Correct.
And I was the one that he called. And the only reason why is because instead everybody was sending him postcards and all those things. I sent him a phone. I bought like a $20 phone from basically 7-Eleven or something, and I took the phone and I put it in a package, sent it to him with only my phone number in it.
That's like some mobster stuff.
He called me just much more out of curiosity. I didn't buy the building. I wholesaled it, but it happened.
That's incredible. How do people get in contact with you, Tapan?
Yeah, my number is 916-613-1921. Once again, that's 916-613-1921. Call me. I would love to talk to you. I talk to people all the time. I'm your quintessential people, and I love talking to people. So, family time withstanding, or unless I'm doing an actual deal, I always talk to people. So
we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back and learn more. We'll be right back.